All right, we're back with the retired military slash fire department's truck. Found a couple small problems that I'm going to work through. I'm just going to make a quick video showing you guys things that you see sometimes, and hopefully some fix. So first, I think I mentioned when I first, I've only had this thing a few days, but the other video I posted, that they had bypassed the resistor. This is the resistor behind that metal plate. For those who are not aware, these retired military trucks run a 24 volt and 12 volt system. So it's two batteries. Don't mind this black cable. I'll show what I'm going to do with that here in a little bit. Right here is the 12 volt side. That's ground. It runs into the negative of this battery, and then out here comes 24 volts. So 24 volt runs the starter, and it did run the glow plug system. It no longer does because they bypassed it. So what normally would happen on your glow plugs, a 24 volt lead would come out of this box into this wire right here, and there's a large resistor in there, and what that does is basically steps the glow plugs down to around 12 volts. I think it's 10 to 15 volts. The problem with that design, there's a lot of good about it, but one of the problems with it is the fact that if one glow plug goes out, the voltage actually increases to all the other ones. So you take one out, not a problem. You take two out, your other glow plugs start running hot and you start frying other glow plugs. So it's a chain reaction basically. Works fine, but you can bypass it. So what they did here is they ran a wire straight from a 12 volt straight to over here, which is right up there, and ran the glow plugs to that, which is fine. Again, I've done that before myself. The problem I see here is that wire size. It's a 12 gauge wire. When I opened the hood of the truck, I saw a bunch of fuses down here, a bunch of 30 amp fuses blown. And then they jumped this. So my guess is they were pulling more amperage than they expected. So they just decided to jump it. I put a clamp meter on it, and I'm showing a little over 30 amps, or right at 30 amps is the draw on that wire. So I'm gonna go ahead and upsize it from a 12 gauge to a 10 gauge. I want to show just the voltage drop from no load to load. And then after change it to a 10 gauge, hopefully we'll see at least a slight improvement from a little higher voltage there. So that's problem one. The second problem, because it runs 24 volt, there's actually two alternators, one there and one there. This is what they call Gen 1. This is Gen 2. This one runs for the 12 volt battery, and this is for the 24. There was the fuse was removed there's actually fuse that runs the glow plug, light, and a bunch of other stuff, including the Gen 2. That was removed. I'm not sure why. I put a new fuse in it. I had to tighten the belt up because it was making quite a bit of noise when it was charging. I'm not sure how long. Those are newer batteries. I'm not sure how long they had it. It'll start probably 30-ish times before you're gonna have to recharge that battery, because that's the only load is on the starter. So not sure how long ago they pulled it or why they pulled it, but it seems to work. Maybe it was just they need to tighten the belt and they didn't do it. They pulled the relay. So that was the problem number two I found. Problem three that I'm working through, the transmission it seems like it's in third gear almost instantly, and doesn't want to downshift. And so that quick shift, I was looking at the vacuum side of this, and I'm again, it's an older truck, so you never know why people do things. But there's a line that comes up right here. Sorry, I'm blocking the light. This line actually comes from the transmission right here, and that goes to the vacuum module on the transmission. That should come up and go to this vacuum regulator, and this regulator is actually hooked to your throttle, and so it changes how much vacuum your transmission module is seeing. The vacuum module on your transmission is seeing depending on how much you push on the throttle. For some reason that's bypassed, and they went straight to the vacuum pump, which is back there. So normally it comes out of the vacuum pump into this regulator, and let's just say that supplies 20 psi. I'm not sure what that vacuum pump's going to supply, but if it goes at 20 psi, then this regulator may regulate it down to 8 psi. Well, right now the transmission is seeing 20 psi at all times, which the higher pressure it sees, the faster it shifts out of its current gear. And so that could be, or that's one of the reasons, if not the reason, that it's shifting quickly. As you can see, I've already put these two fittings in here. They're just barbed for vacuum lines, and so I'll hook up the vacuum pump to one of them. I believe it's the bottom one. I'll have to double check. Then the other one will hook up to that line. Then I'll go test drive it and see. This may be bad, or it may need to be adjusted. It's really easy to adjust. There's a couple screws down there that hold it, and you just turn those. Let's see if it focuses. Yeah, there's one there, then there's another one below it. And you could adjust that. You could put a vacuum gauge on it and adjust how much vacuum. Once that adjusted, the module down on the transmission is also adjustable. But like I said, let's get it hooked up and let's see what it does. I bet it does significantly better than what it's doing today. So anyways, those are the few changes or a few things. You always find stuff on these, and I'll continue making modification and finding stuff for a while, and I'll update you guys. Once I replace this wire, I'll probably do another test. Let me just show you the voltage drop. Currently the voltage on that wire is 12.7, so that's the battery voltage, no load, with the 12 gauge wire. I'll turn the key on, let the glow plugs kick on, and then you'll see what the voltage drop is across that line. So it goes to 11.476, that the glow plugs are on right now. So that tells you the voltage drop across that wire. That's quite a bit. The battery will have to build back up. So you're gonna have, just the battery drop itself, and then you're gonna have the line, but you're talking at least 1 volt drop. So almost a 10% loss across that line. That's quite a bit. So I'll switch that wire out. Like I said, go to a 10 gauge more than likely. That's kind of what this other wire is. There is a 10 gauge, just getting a good understanding of what the layout should look like. I don't have a red wire. I'm not going to go buy a red wire. I'm just going to use that black. I will have to get a fuse holder because I don't have a 10 gauge fuse holder. So, all right, I fixed the wiring. I upgraded that to a 10 gauge. You can see that black wire runs over here and comes down to this. So that's positive 12 volts. Both heat shrink terminal plus heat shrink on top of it. So should keep out most of any moisture out of there. Looks a little cleaner. Again, I wish I had red, but I don't. So black will have to work. Here is the resistor. I moved it off the back wall. So you can see it's a massive resistor. Normally, like I said, from factory, it would bring in 24 volts. Then this resistor would knock it down to, I believe it's 10.5 is what these run at, but somewhere in that range. So with that 10 gauge, now let's see what our voltage is. Just like we did before. So 12.7, keys on, and it drops down to 12, 15-ish. So definitely picked up, half a volt or so from just upgrading line. There was nothing else done, so just changed that from a 12 gauge to a 10 gauge. Probably if I had some 8, if I was going to add a bunch of accessories to it and run off that location, you may want to even upgrade to an 8. But these trucks don't have, almost no accessories to them. So 10 will work for now, but you can run quite a bit of amperage. I don't know what that length is, probably 8 feet or so through a 10 gauge wire. So, but 12 was definitely too small. So that fixes that. I will probably split this video and show fixing the vacuum pump or the vacuum line. So thanks for watching.